Okay, so this is where we left off last time. Remember our beginning Python program we started with. We're going to continue here, but I'm going to go to the more formal notes from this point on, since I've shown you kind of all the introductory stuff to get you started in Python programming. So let's get started over here. I could have had this already. Okay. So just a general introduction first to Python. Where did it come from? In the late 1970s, there was a programming language called ABC. It was high level and intended for introductory teaching, level teaching. There was only 5 data types, which might sound kind of familiar. The programs were smaller than BASIC, Pascal. It ended up not being very successful, but it did lead to Python, which is a good thing. Guido van Rossum joined the ABC team, but in the late 80s, he wanted a different language. It was kind of like ABC, but it had some other capacities, such as being extensible. So he started a new package called Python, not after the snake, but after Monty Python, which you might be familiar with. Guido is termed the benevolent dictator for life. He's retiring, I think is retired now actually. You can go to this website and just search for him. I mean, I think you'll find he has been the godfather of this programming environment that we're going to be learning the basics of. Okay, we've already seen entering programming statements into the shell. It's easy to do that. You can easily look at mathematical operators, which is where we begin, since this is, from the math department. We'll begin with those mathematical operators. For example, 11 plus 56 gives you 67. Already done that. We can use parentheses to change order of operations when necessary. So 5 times 3 will be different, of course, than 4 plus 5 grouped in parentheses times 3. So be careful. Use parentheses when in doubt. There are 2 division operators. We have exact division or integer division, so just be aware of that. That's easy to make a mistake. On your own, just right now, compare 5 divided by 2. Exact division to 5 integer division 2. Okay, a little concept test here. What's the difference? Oops, I forgot to spell concept correctly, so I'll fix that. What's the difference between the literals 1 and 1.0 in Python? So take a moment. You may not know. Just pick the one you think is most logical. I'll give you a moment. Okay, so perhaps you're unsure. If you're unsure, I would do something like this. You can always stop the video and do the following. I'm just going to give you a little, let me pause it just for a second. Go over here. Okay, so I've typed. We can use the type function in Python. It's like class in R. And C. Well, how is it going to tell us? All right, so it's telling us float. What if we do something like this? String. Would it make a difference if we did this? Which is technically the same number, right? Okay, so just to review. There we go. It did not, I should have separated those better. So now we've got type of 1 is integer. Type of 1.0 is a floating. And so we now know, let me get back to full screen here. Which one is correct? Well, we can rule out A. We can rule out B, right? 1.0 is not a string. And then we've got D and E left. So which one is correct? We've got the floating point and the integer that has it flip-flopped. So D. So, of course, that type will tell us if you need to convert from one type to the other, you can just use the function int or float to convert like a float to an integer or an integer to a float. Had that backwards. So a variable name, when we talk about variables in Python, a variable name is just a name that refers to some value. It helps us remember those values so that we can use them in various ways, like do calculations with them or run algorithms on them, whatever. In some ways, variables are kind of like doing math. Okay, so like think about writing a proof. At the beginning of a proof, you might say, let x equal 5. So then what's the value of x times 3? Well, clearly 15, right? It's no different. I think that's one reason if you're good at writing proofs, programming comes naturally to you. If we make a statement about the value of a variable, then we can make operations, like mathematical operations like multiplication. And it doesn't change the value. It doesn't modify it in any way. It just makes use of that value, okay? But how is it different than math? In math, the variable values can't change, but we often update in programming. So we change as often as we have need, especially if you're going through like a algorithm to find a optimization point. You will change that x, maybe that local maximum, many times. Okay, so how do we express the value of a variable? Well, we use an assignment statement. So an assignment statement just says, on your left-hand side, you have the variable, that name, and then you want to assign it some value. And so expression is very general here, right here. It could be a number. It could be a string, like a character string. It could be a word. It could be a number within parentheses, like we just did before. So there are two steps involved in making an assignment statement in Python. We evaluate the expression on the right-hand side to get that result, and we make the variable on the left-hand side refer to that result. So notice we evaluate and then we make that reference. So examine this code. What's the value of y after the execution of this code? Take just a moment to think. Okay, we're going to start off in class on, well, I'm assuming our day that we meet. I won't be specific to the day of the week, but I want you to bring this, and I want you to write kind of an argument about why you think your answer is what it is, A up to E. Okay? We'll start there in class and make sure that you're ready to discuss this problem.